Sadiq Khan has lied once again. This time it's to Sky News and it's about the ULEZ scheme. And I'm going to go through all the statistics because the reality is he has made pollution in practice far worse with his policies than he would ever admit to. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but also subscribe to G Live TV podcast. The link is in the description. They're launching on Saturday. It's a little local project to try and bring conservative news to the country. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Sadiq Khan. We know Sadiq Khan is a liar. Let me tell you about lie number one. When he claimed to be, first of all, he claimed to be Babar Ahmed's best friend. Then he claimed to be Babar Ahmed's cousin. Then he said that he'd met Babar Ahmed once or twice. Then he said he'd never met Babar Ahmed at all. He also said that he'd only visited Babar Ahmed when he was a Member of Parliament, when in fact he'd visited him before he was a Member of Parliament. Babar Ahmed, as you may remember, was the gentleman from Tooting who was extradited to the United States of America and later pleaded guilty to being Al-Qaeda's first and principal fundraiser online. Also, Sadiq Khan claims to have built 25,000 affordable homes, or he did 1 year, he hadn't built any at all. He also claimed that the number of vehicles being scrapped in Bromley as a result of the expansion of ULEZ was far lower than what it actually was. And the lies kind of continue. He's a bad guy as far as I'm concerned. But what about this latest lie that he's told? He said that the level of pollution in London has gone down surprisingly well as a result of ULEZ. Okay, I will accept that on the face of that, that is correct. However, there's an important, or a series of important caveats here. The level of pollution in London was going down anyway, simply because of modern cars coming in. It's going down actually at a slower rate than it would have done because of his implementation of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. As you know, most cars, modern cars, struggle to perform at such a low speed, and that is more polluting than it would have been otherwise. And therefore, there's a fair body of evidence to say that if he hadn't bothered with the ULEZ scheme and had instead continued with 30 miles an hour rather than 20, we'd probably be in the same position. But let's pretend that, let's give him the win. Okay, let's give him the win and accept that. Here's my next point, which I think is more important. Okay, so given that pollution was going down anyway, you've created a massive amount of poverty in London because poorer people have had to scrap their cars. By the way, those scrapped cars, the government wanted him to send them to Ukraine, and he promised to do that. And now he has reneged on that promise. They're all just sat locked up somewhere in East London. I don't know exactly where. Anyhow, so I just want you to get your heads around this because it might be a little bit confusing, but you've got to remember the high levels of pollution, which have gone down, are on the main roads. But how long do you and I actually spend on a main road? The vast majority of us might walk for a short distance and get into a car and then drive down. But actually, the reality is we don't sit there, you know, snorting 4-star at the side of the North Circular, do we? It's not what happens. But what now happens is this. If you dump your car, then you're going to instead go on the underground. Now, that's great news for Sadiq because it boosts the amount of money that comes in from the underground. However, saving you from pollution, it most definitely will not do. I will tell you that in parts of the London Underground, the particulates in the air are 8 times higher than they are on the most polluting streets. And here's the other problem. Most of it is microfine metal. Now, why would that be? So obviously, the railway line, the Underground's railway line, as the wheels grind on the track, tiny bits of heavy metals are thrown up in the air, and you breathe those in. They believe that they're small enough to actually pass into your bloodstream. Now, can you imagine having iron filings in your bloodstream? Now, look, the damage that this causes is unknown. There's not been a lot of research on it, but it can't be a good thing. And so, look, I'm not saying to you, don't get on the London Underground, but what I am saying to you is that potentially there is a danger associated with it. But anyway, let's take a quick look at Sadiq Khan's video on Sky, and I'll be back in a moment.
I mean, you did face a lot of opposition when you proposed expanding the ULEZ zone in London, didn't you? So what is your research telling you about the impacts as you see them?
Look, people may not realise this, I didn't till a few years ago, but no level of air pollution is safe. It can lead to thousands of premature deaths and a whole host of health issues from asthma to cancer, heart disease, strokes and dementia. And what this 1 year's worth of data shows, and it's been analysed and checked by international experts from Imperial College, from Germany, from Belgium, from France, from York University, is the ultra-low emission zone works. It's led to substantial improvements in air quality in London. The three big pollutants, poisons, are nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter. We've seen across London a 27% reduction in nitrogen dioxide, a 36% reduction in NOx, and a 31% reduction in particulate matter in outer London. And that means all of Londoners, almost 10 million, are now breathing cleaner air. And in 99% of the air quality monitors, we saw a massive improvement in air. And here's the really good news that I'm really proud of. The quality of air in London is improving much faster than the rest of the country. So we're breathing cleaner air, which means longer lives.
Well, Heidi Alexander is now Transport Secretary. Some people have described her as the architect of ULEZ, and she's supposed to be a fan of 20-mile-an-hour zones as well. So do you expect similar low-emission zones to be, and the costs and the fines that go along with them, to be rolled out across the country now?
What we shouldn't have is a one-size-fits-all approach. What's right for London as a policy may not be right for Luton, because it depends on...
The principle of these zones, do you think that they will happen in cities up and down the country?
I think the principle of us recognising air pollution is bad and we've got to clean it up is really important. If we were speaking 60 years ago, there'd be a discussion and debate about whether tobacco is dangerous and whether we should reduce smoking. I'm hoping now people know the science is quite clear. Air pollution causes harm. But there are now policies, world-leading policies, to reduce air pollution. And international experts tell me there is no one policy that's had the impact on air quality improvements that ULEZ has had. And I'm hoping other cities, and we've seen some cities already doing it, Bristol, Oxford, parts of West Yorkshire, will introduce their own clean air zones.
Yeah, so absolutely no mention whatsoever of the dangers of the heavy metals that are on the London Underground. There is the dishonesty of Sadiq Khan. And so what you have to remember is this is somebody who is a zealot to the cause rather than somebody who is telling the truth. And remember the other thing that Transport for London said. They said, people said, well, hang on a second, what about getting your van out? How can you get out your van? And they said, oh, you should take your paint pots on the London Underground. You can do that. No, you can't. It's against the rules of the London Underground to take work equipment. Can you imagine taking a ladder on the Piccadilly line? But I also want to talk to you about ULEZ schemes across the country, because actually I would argue that whilst the scheme in London is quite damaging, I think it becomes worse right across the country. Some of you will know this area, but many of you will not. Right. Haydock Racecourse is in Liverpool, right. Warrington Bank Quay Station is in Cheshire, and the village of Loughton and Goulburn are in Greater Manchester. My dad lives in Goulburn, right. Now, if he wants to drive to his two local train stations, he has to cross county lines, which means that to drive inside Greater Manchester, he might have to pay £12.50. Then to go into Warrington to, say, go shopping, which is only 1 mile from his house, he'll have to pay £12.50 or to pick me up from Warrington Bank Quay Station. And if he wants to go to his local train station to go to Liverpool or Manchester, he has to pay another £12.50. Now, I can never say the phrase border communities without saying it in an Irish accent. What about border communities? But what about people who live on the border between various ULEZ schemes? Greater Manchester and Merseyside border each other. There are some people who will end up, just to go to their local shops, having to pay 2 ULEZ charges if it comes in, although Andy Burnham has backed down. The reality is, technological advancement is reducing the amount of pollution that we have in this country, and we should just run with that. I will tell you, the big problem, the biggest danger we have for shortening people's lives is to put people into poverty. And many of these green technologies are doing that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe to G Live TV News Podcast. Still can't work out the name of it. Just to explain to you, it's launching tomorrow. It's got me, it's got Viscount, Moncton on it. It's got Alistair Chambers, who you'll know was one of my contributors from Talk TV. And it's a project to talk about local news, but also to bring some national news. And we hope to spread the scheme right across the country. So there might be an N live in Nottingham, G live in Gloucester, M live in Manchester. Until next time, goodbye.